Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that many of us don't like to think about, but is incredibly important: the fears that can haunt us as we age. Let's face it, nobody wants to talk about getting old, especially not the stuff that can really keep you up at night. But you know me, I believe in tackling the tough stuff head on. We're going to shine a light on those shadowy corners and uncover 4 things scarier than death for people over 75. Stick around as we uncover 4 things scarier than death for people over 75. You know, in my line of work, I've seen firsthand how loneliness can eat away at a person, no matter their age. But for folks over 75, it can be absolutely devastating. I remember this one gentleman, Mr. Yang, who came on the show a few years back. He was in his late 80s, sharp as a tack, but his eyes just held this deep, aching sadness. Mr. Yang had outlived his wife and most of his friends. His kids, well, they were busy with their own lives, scattered across the country. He loved them dearly, but those phone calls and the occasional visit just weren't enough to fill the void. Mr. Yang, as Mr. Yang, I feel like I'm slowly disappearing, like a ghost in my own life. And you know what? That's the thing about loneliness. It's not just about being alone. It's about feeling invisible, unheard, like your presence barely makes a ripple in the world. Mr. Yang's story is a stark reminder that we need to prioritize building and nurturing our connections throughout our lives. Don't wait until it's too late. Reach out to loved ones, join clubs, volunteer, stay engaged with your community. Because let me tell you, loneliness can be a slow and agonizing decline, and nobody deserves to feel that way. Now let's talk about another big fear that keeps folks up at night: losing their independence. It's a fear that can be as paralyzing as any physical ailment. You see, we humans, we're wired for autonomy. From the moment we take our first steps, we crave the freedom to move, to choose, to live life on our own terms. We crave the ability to make our own choices, control our own destinies. It's a fundamental part of who we are. And when that starts to slip away, it can be terrifying. The loss of independence can feel like losing a part of oneself. I'm reminded of Mrs. Chio, a vibrant woman in her early 80s who contacted the show. Her story is a poignant reminder of this struggle. She'd always been fiercely independent, running her own business, traveling the world, the whole 9 yards. Her life was a testament to self-sufficiency and determination. But then, her health started to decline. It began subtly, almost imperceptibly. First, it was just a few aches and pains, nothing too serious. She brushed them off, thinking it was just part of getting older. But then came the arthritis, the weakening eyesight, the difficulty getting around. Each new challenge chipped away at her independence. Suddenly, everyday tasks that she used to take for granted, like driving, cooking, even just getting dressed, became monumental challenges. It was as if her world was shrinking. Mrs. Chio, as Mrs. Chio, I had to rely on others for help, and that for me was almost unbearable. It felt like I was losing a part of my identity. I felt like I was losing control, becoming a burden on my loved ones. The fear of being a burden can be as heavy as the physical limitations themselves. The woman who had once commanded a boardroom was now struggling to button her own blouse. It was a stark contrast to the life she once knew. It was heartbreaking to witness. The emotional toll was evident in her eyes, in her voice. But you know what? Mrs. Chio's story also highlights the importance of planning ahead. It's a reminder that we can take steps to prepare for these changes. There are things we can do to maintain our independence as we age, like home modifications, assistive devices, and exploring transportation options. These tools can make a significant difference. And you know what else? Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Seeking assistance is not a sign of weakness. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Embracing support can be a source of strength, allowing us to continue living life to the fullest. Chapter 3: The Crushing Weight of Financial Fears. Mr. Lee's Cautionary Tale. Now let's talk about a subject that makes a lot of people uncomfortable: money. Specifically, the fear of financial instability in old age. It's a topic that often gets swept under the rug, but it's one that needs to be addressed head on. Look, we all know that retirement can be expensive. Healthcare costs, living expenses, the occasional splurge on the grandkids, it all adds up. And these expenses can quickly become overwhelming if not properly planned for. But for many seniors, it's not just about having enough money to live comfortably. It's about the fear of becoming a financial burden on their loved ones. This fear can be paralyzing, leading to sleepless nights and constant worry. Mr. Lee, I'll never forget Mr. Lee, a widower in his late 70s who came on the show with his new wife, a woman significantly younger than him. His story is both a cautionary tale and a lesson in the importance of financial honesty. Now Mr. Lee was smitten, head over heels. He'd been lonely since his wife passed away, and this new woman, well, she made him feel young again. It was a second chance at happiness, or so he thought. But there was just one problem. Mr. Lee hadn't been entirely upfront with his new bride about his financial situation. He kept his financial struggles hidden, hoping love would be enough to sustain their relationship. You see, he'd drained most of his savings caring for his first wife during her illness, and he was living on a fixed income. His financial reality was far from the picture of stability he had painted for his new wife. He was terrified of what his new wife would think, afraid she'd leave him if she knew the truth. The fear of losing her love was almost as overwhelming as his financial fears. Mr. Lee's new wife, well, as you can imagine, this blew up in his face. The facade he had built crumbled, and the truth came out in the worst possible way. The truth always has a way of coming out, and when it did, it nearly destroyed their marriage. The trust was shattered, and rebuilding it was a monumental task. Mr. Lee's story is a stark reminder that financial transparency and open communication are crucial, especially in relationships. Without it, even the strongest bonds can break under the weight of hidden truths. But more importantly, it highlights the importance of financial literacy and planning throughout our lives. Understanding your finances and planning for the future can prevent a lot of heartache and stress. Don't wait until you're retired to start thinking about your finances. The earlier you start, the better prepared you'll be for whatever life throws your way. Educate yourself, make a plan, and consult with a financial advisor to ensure you're prepared for whatever life throws your way. It's never too late to start, but the sooner you do, the more secure your future will be. Chapter 4. Family Feuds. Navigating the minefield of blended families. Now, let's delve into a topic that can be particularly challenging for seniors' family discord. This is an issue that can affect anyone, but it often becomes more pronounced as we age. As we age, our relationships with our children, siblings, and other family members can become even more complex. The dynamics shift, and what once was simple can become intricate and layered. And when you throw in blended families, stepchildren, and in-laws, well, it can be a recipe for disaster. The introduction of new family members can bring about unexpected challenges and tensions. Mr. Lee, I remember working with a family, the Lees, who were dealing with this very issue. Their story is a poignant example of the struggles many blended families face. Mr. Lee, as you know, had remarried after his first wife passed away. He was hopeful that this new chapter in his life would bring happiness and companionship. He had 2 children from his first marriage, and his new wife had 3 of her own. On paper, they seemed like a happy, blended family. They had all the makings of a harmonious household, but reality was far different. But beneath the surface, resentment and bitterness festered. The children from both sides struggled to accept each other and the new family dynamics. Mr. Lee's child. Mr. Lee's children felt like their stepmother was trying to control their father and his finances. They felt sidelined and worried about their father's well-being. They accused her of being manipulative and only interested in their inheritance. These accusations only deepened the divide and created more tension. Mr. Lee's new wife. His wife's children, on the other hand, felt like Mr. Lee's kids were being disrespectful and unwelcoming. They felt their mother was being unfairly targeted and misunderstood. It was a constant power struggle, with Mr. Lee caught in the middle. He loved all his children and wanted peace, but he felt powerless to achieve it. Family gatherings were tense, holidays were a nightmare, and communication had broken down completely. Mr. Lee was heartbroken. He dreaded family events that were supposed to be joyous occasions. He just wanted his family to get along, but he didn't know how to bridge the divide. The emotional toll on him was immense, and he often felt isolated and helpless. This situation is, unfortunately, more common than you might think. Many families face similar struggles, and it can feel like there's no way out. Blended families can be wonderful, but they also require clear communication, empathy, and a willingness to compromise from all parties involved. It's essential to approach these relationships with patience and understanding. It's important to remember that everyone is coming into the situation with their own history, their own baggage, and their own insecurities. Acknowledging these factors can help in finding common ground. Open and honest conversations are crucial, and sometimes seeking professional help from a therapist or counselor can be invaluable. Professional guidance can provide new perspectives and strategies for resolving conflicts. Ultimately, the goal is to create a family environment where everyone feels heard, respected, and valued. It takes effort and commitment, but the rewards of a harmonious family life are well worth it. So there you have it, 4 fears that can be scarier than death for those over 75. Remember, aging is a part of life, but with the right preparation and mindset, we can face these challenges head-on. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might find it helpful. Until next time, stay strong and stay informed.